So earlier
Now,
I used to believe in Islam, okay, but
okay,
now I'm not believing in that book anymore
why?
due to many reasons.
Give
So
me
like
one
this,
reason that is logical and not emotional.
hi, I hope you all are doing well.
Yes, we are good. Yeah. Where are you calling from?
I'm from India.
Okay. And you got a
So
question for us or comment?
yes, yes, yeah. So I have studied Islam, but means like I came to know about the sugar-coated version of Islam in the initial stage. But now as I'm going deeper, so I'm finding a lot of confusion in it. So my question is like, don't you
Before your
think that
question, state your religion. What do you believe in?
though I believe means I belong to Buddhism, okay, but I don't believe in religion as such. I believe in constitutionalism and secular humanism.
So when you say you
So my
belong to Buddhism, what does that mean? How can you belong to
means my
Buddhism if you don't follow the religion?
on documents I'm saying.
No, no. Do you practice Buddhism or you don't?
No, I don't practice any religion.
So you don't belong to Buddhism then. Why are you saying you belong to Buddhism?
It's a
Means
fine
I'm just
paper.
telling my background, like family background. I'm telling.
Okay, so say like
That's
that.
I
fine.
don't practice
Not
religion,
you
but
yourself.
this is my background. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't believe in God at all?
No, means I'm in search. I don't know exactly whether he exists or not.
Okay, fair enough. Go on.
I
What's your
used to
problem?
believe that's a different story, but currently I don't believe.
Yeah, so
At
you
least
have
I
one
don't believe the
question. Wait a
religious
minute.
God.
You have one
Yeah.
question because we have less time now. So give us your best
Yes,
shot.
yes.
Go on.
Yeah. I will ask one question only, but let me complete question. Okay, it will take 30 seconds at least.
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So my question is like, don't you think that Islam and Quran are invented by Arabs? Because we don't see anything, okay, like even the fruits and the name of the prophets outside that region, particular region, okay, and like maybe the Judaism and Christianity, out of that you don't see any new names, okay. So my question is like every other religion is like that. So if you take Hinduism, the same thing is there. You won't find Krishna in the USA or Arab countries. So don't you think like all these are same like man-made things? Like why do you practice Islam? Like what makes you?
Right. So now I understand why you call yourself confused guy. If you're going to go by this kind of logic that Ram
Mhm.
is in India and Muhammad is in Arabia, yes, and he's not found anywhere else, what does that prove to you? That these names are local to that area, to that region. What has that got to do
Mhm.
with Islam being false? I don't understand.
I mean to say like this is for the that particular region. Okay, people invented this thing for that particular region for that particular time.
No, but in that
But now
region,
it is not needed to follow it.
if God gave his revelation to a prophet in that region who has
Mhm.
a particular name that belongs to that region, then what really is the problem? I don't understand. What seems to be the problem?
Because he is addressing, if you take Quran particularly, then it is addressing only the people of that region. Okay, so
No,
every revolution,
Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas means here, O people. So
yeah,
he's not just addressing the Arabs. He didn't say Ya ayyuhal Arab or Ajam, non-Arab. He says Ya ayyuhan nas. This is a universal message for every person, okay? For every human,
he,
okay? And he
he is
also
saying
says,
nas.
yeah, nas
Yeah,
means people. What is nas? It's
yes, yes.
people. Because the scripture is in Arabic. It was given to a prophet who spoke Arabic. Now, you wouldn't expect Allah to give a Chinese book to an Arab prophet, would you? That would be illogical.
Hmm.
So the
That would be
revelation is always
illogical.
in the language of the prophet to whom it is revealed to the messenger to whom it's revealed to. I really don't
But if you,
understand what your contention is here.
yeah, but if you see the revelation, okay, so if we go by the like more into hadith and all,
Okay,
so
now you're
you
going to
will
another
see
question,
that
right? Remember, you
no,
had
no,
only
no,
one question.
no, no.
I told you
I'm
to give
giving
us your best
example.
shot.
I'm giving example.
Example
Okay,
of what?
so if you,
You started with the
yeah,
name. Am I right? The name is not found anywhere else. Now that has been
yes, yes.
debunked. Now you're going to another point because now you realize that is quite
No,
logical.
no, no. So you're asking, so why means what I'm asking,
Okay,
right?
once
Like
again,
you're
what was
not
your
clear.
question? What was your initial question? Let me see if you remember that.
So the initial question was like, I feel that these all religions are man-made and limited to particular region and particular time.
No, you
That's
said something about the name.
yeah, yeah. So these
So
names are
why you not
common to that
why
region.
not mentioning that then?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
I just want to make a point here. I mean, the
Hmm.
observation that you have is obviously a very cursory reading of the Quran. When the Quran says, I'll give you just one example. The translation of the meaning goes like this: Do not the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth was joined together as one piece, and God parted it asunder, and He brought every living thing from water? Would they then not be? Would they then not believe? If you know history very well, history of the regions and what their understanding of the knowledge that they had about the reality, they didn't believe in what the Quran is saying, that there was, everything was joined piece of a singularity, one smaller piece as single as possible, and then there was this separation. So if you say the Quran is a product of culture of a human being or a group of human beings within that region, it doesn't add up to what it's saying, because it's telling you something that is known to us much later, not from that time frame, but something that in the future we have come to realize this is the case. When the Quran says how Allah is the one who created the heavens and the earth with his own hands and he's expanding it, now, the understanding of the expansion of the universe wasn't known to the period of the time period at that time, because even the Greeks at that time believed so wholeheartedly the universe is as it is. It doesn't expand, it doesn't go become bigger or anything. Yet the Quran is talking about things which goes against the known science of that time, and only to be in the future to be appreciated and understood that this is what it is all about, because now we have more knowledge about our reality. So this goes very much against your observation that the Quran is somehow time specific, somehow geographical location specific in Arabia. The data suggests otherwise. I just gave you two examples. I can keep on giving examples after examples to illustrate my point, but I think I made it clear to you that is not the case.
Yeah, that's right. But don't you think like many Muslim scholars believed for a long time that Earth is flat, and they took reference
Let
from
answer
Quran
the
itself?
question.
No. So
No,
so
no,
let's
he's
let me
giving the
address you.
scientific explanation, right? So
No,
I'm
no,
like cross
let's
questioning
address
his
your point.
understanding. Yeah.
Let's address your point. It's not many scholars believe. There's only one commentary that we know of, Tafsir al-Jalalain, if I'm not mistaken, when he talks about, when Allah talks about how he flattens the surface of the earth, and he says this is what it means, the earth is flat. But that is one interpreter interpreting in his abilities. It doesn't mean that is what the Quran is saying, because the Quran doesn't say the earth is flat. The Quran simply says in various words, using the concept where the level of the surface of the earth is made plain to be habitable in relation to structures like the mountains, elevated stuff where you can't really live in those areas. So the Quran in no place does it say the earth is flat. It talks about how it's smoothened, it's leveled, it's flattened. If you think about where we are now, the earth, the globe is actually flattened for us to live. Otherwise, it's not going to be habitable. So when you talk about how they understanding it differently, I mean, again, this was one interpreter, and you're taking that like this is what the Quran is saying. This is not the case. So we have now covered three examples in which the Quran talks about natural phenomena, which even to the tools of science that we have is quite astonishing. So how can it even be, postulated that the Quran is a product of time and space in 1400 years ago in 7th century Arabia? The data goes against your assertion.
So
No, not
confused guy,
my.
let me
It
ask you this.
doesn't
You
go.
said,
Yeah.
hold on, confused guy. You said you're seeking, yeah, when I asked you to believe in God. So, when you're seeking something, you have a criteria, don't you? What is your criteria for how will you identify God? that you have found God? What is the criteria for recognizing God?
I don't have any criteria.
So
Like
how
I
do you
don't
know you're
find
seeking?
any.
What are you seeking for?
No, I'm not seeking like the religion or anything.
No,
I
I
just
didn't
want
ask
to
you
know the.
seeking religion. I asked you, do you believe in God? And you said, no, I'm still seeking. So
Yeah.
once again, how will you know in your journey, in your seeking, how will you know you have come across God, that you have found God now? How would you know that? Without a criteria, there's no way you can know that.
So for myself, I didn't set any criteria. I don't know like
Okay,
whether he
so once
exists or
again,
not. Whether
do you believe in God?
mm, means I think like there is some superpower. Okay, but I don't consider him as the God which is in religions.
That's fine. You can, when you say this being which has superpower or this supernatural being, okay,
Yeah.
how did you come to that conclusion that there is a supernatural being?
After seeing this universe.
Okay, so the universe exists, and how did you conclude
Yeah.
that God exists or supernatural being exists?
Yeah, I feel like for every creation there needs to be a creator.
So you do believe in a creator,
Yeah. But I'm
okay?
not sure like who is he, whether he's interested in my personal life. I don't know.
Okay, now if the creator exists, do you think the creator is able to communicate with you?
I'm not sure. I don't think so because I haven't
Should
seen any like
should he
evidence.
communicate with you?
Hmm?
Should he communicate with you?
It's up to him. I can't decide for him.
No, but as a human being, you believe you're the creation of this creator, am I right?
Yeah.
Do you think he's like an absent father? He just created you and left you unguided?
Yeah, I feel like he created the laws of nature and is not much interested in us like every other species.
So he's like an absent father, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yes.
Is that a good creator or a bad creator? Just like an
That's
absent
good.
father, is he a good father or a bad father? If he
He
deliberately does
created
it,
a
without
laws
any
of
reason,
he created a laws of nature and then he's not interested in my personal
yeah,
life.
but
I think he's good.
laws of nature has got nothing to
Mm.
do with your ethics, does it?
Mm,
Your
ethics in
morality,
the
your
sense.
ethics, the way you treat your parents, the way you treat your children or your friends,
Mm,
the way you live in a society, if you just let you fend for yourself, make up your own mind, to be honest, what you actually live in every society, there is some
mm,
form of religion, some form of morals or ethic codes, which, to be honest, ultimately do come from some form of religion. So the
not
very thing that you
necessary.
hate, the very thing you are kind of despised, that you do despise, is what you lead your own ethical life, moral life on. Because as someone who doesn't believe in God, fortunately you're not one of them. It seems like you do believe in a creator. So I wouldn't even call you an agnostic. I would call you actually a believer in a creator. You just don't
Yes.
know. You just don't know what he expects of you, because you somehow, I don't know, have this. Uh, in a way, you're not. A religion has caused some issues maybe in your life. I don't know. Maybe that's a reason. It might be some emotional reason. But so far, the logical reasoning that you mentioned in your brief discussion here, it doesn't add up. So there must be something much more deeper than this. What is it
Yeah,
that
but
made you turn against religion? What is it?
yeah, see, I used to think like Islam don't have mythology and all these things. Okay. So if my option were like two, okay, either Islam or atheism or like deistic belief, okay.
Yeah, but
So when I
you do believe in a deistic belief, isn't it?
which
Your belief is like
sorry,
deism. Your belief,
yeah, deist, yeah,
you're a deist, yeah?
yes, yes.
Okay.
So earlier I
Now,
used to believe in Islam, okay, but
okay.
now I'm not believing in that book anymore.
Why?
due to many reasons.
Give me
So like
one
that,
reason that is logical and not emotional.
yeah. So I find a lot of stuff like story of Suleiman, the cave story, then Adam story, then journey of Miraj, then
Are you
splitting
talking
of
about the
moon.
miracles?
Yes, this is mythology for me.
No, no, no. Hold on. Why do you believe that miracles are mythology? A miracle is something that cannot be explained scientifically, rationally, logically, because it's a miracle. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a miracle if you could explain that phenomena.
Then Quran is a book of miracle only because there are off repeating stories like more like
Yes,
I think
there
50
are.
60% is the stories only. Same
No,
stories.
I asked you, what's your problem with miracles? What is wrong with
Every
miracles?
religion then would
Do
be
you think
true,
it's
na? Right?
impossible for miracles to happen if there is a creator?
Uh, but miracles don't happen in 21st century. That's the problem. It happens in old times when there was
Okay,
no technology.
let me explain this to you. Do you
Yeah.
have consciousness?
Yes.
Can you show me that with empirical evidence?
No.
Why? Is that a miracle?
Yeah, I don't know. Like we haven't scientifically discovered yet. I don't know whether
Well,
to call miracle
I
or
don't think
lack of understanding.
if you don't have empirical evidence for the most fundamental thing in you, your consciousness, the fact that
Hmm.
you're asking us these questions, the fact that you can
Yeah.
think logically, rationally, yes, it shows that
Right.
that is a miracle, isn't it? You don't find this in inanimate objects like a rock.
Hmm. Yeah.
I would consider that to be a miracle because even science can't explain it. To
Hmm.
this day,
Yeah.
all these scientists, none of them have an empirical evidence. That's why it's called the hard problem of consciousness. So without
Hmm.
an explanation, without empirical evidence, they are able to believe this by faith. It's faith basically. That's what it is. Because
Yeah.
and the
But
thing is, they have to because without that, they are
I
never.
just
yeah.
want to add something here, confused guy, if I may. It looks like
Yeah.
some of the things you read the Quran and you had some kind of preconceived, some criteria of what makes sense to you, what's not. Take the example of Solomon speaking to the ants. Yeah, Solomon alayhi salam speaking to the ants. You think,
Mhm.
how is it possible? I mean, I have a phone that speaks. I mean, think if you went there 1,000 years ago and spoke to someone that there's a piece of like a brick or something that speaks, you will be exactly in the same position there like you're now. You would saying, how can it speak? It cannot speak. It doesn't make any sense. Now we know the ants have communication systems, and there are sounds that you can hear as well within them. Obviously, they don't speak in English or in Arabic, but they have their own sounds. If Allah gave the ability to his prophet and messenger to understand the speech of other creation, why would that be even unreasonable, illogical, or irrational? That makes perfect sense that these are communication systems methods that you and I may not have the technology to decipher, technology to understand. I mean, if you don't know how to, make acoustic sounds from a piece of metal or plastic, of course you would have any clue on how this piece can actually speak or even record pictures and moving images. So your particular criteria that you have in terms of how you filter what you call mythology against true, I think you need to revisit it. Take the example you mentioned about Isra and Mi'raj, about the prophets traveling from one place to the other, from Mecca to Al-Quds, Jerusalem, and from Jerusalem in outer space. Now, today we understand and appreciate how time is so relative, and we can, depending on how fast we travel, we can travel fast, depending if you're on a Concorde or if you're on just like a cart run by a horse. The speed that you'll travel will determine how fast you go and come back and so on. So time is quite relative, and now we are even thinking now of time traveling because of some paradox associated with time travel, we are saying there's a logical difficulty and impossibility, or improbability of it. But the idea is still there, that you can actually travel quite fast enough from one place to the other. In fact, the whole idea of transportation from one place to another, your own atoms, you've heard of films like Star Trek and others where they beam from one place to the other. These are no longer science fiction. People are actually writing up and investigating how we can actually transfer one particular electron from one place to the other without moving it. It's just transformation. Science is coming to that step yet, but because you have some kind of paradigms, you're saying these are mythology. If you look at the Quranic examples, all of these things, science would not say these are irrational. These are tools that we may not have at our disposal yet to understand how things are, or the laws that operates within a natural world, we haven't discovered them. That's why we call them supernatural laws, which are not part of this natural world in our understanding, but they operate within this natural world with a set of laws that we are not familiar with. Take the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Nimrod, where when Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam was thrown into the fire didn't burn. But of course, we know the natural law of fire is to burn. But there's something else that prevented Ibrahim alayhi salam from being burned from that fire, because there was another set of law that became in operation. It is not unscientific. It's just like suspending one set of natural law for another. It's something that we are getting to know more and more and more. Sometimes you see stones so warm, you can actually cook with it and there's no fire, and yet it generates stone. It generates heat. A lot of things that we are now unraveling in terms of our natural laws and wonders from this, then our understanding of all this, phenomena becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. They're miraculous to us now because we don't understand all the other laws that are operating within it. And that's why we say they defy our natural laws, because these extra natural laws are not known to us. They operate by God's commands, and we are not privy to those. That is probably why you are saying these are mythologies rather than facts and history.
Yeah. So, Brother Mansur, by your logic, like you're thinking like science has not reached to that level and it's a miracle, then everything and anything is a miracle, okay, in this world.
No.
And
Give me
everything
some
is
examples.
justifiable then.
No. Give me an
Every
example
religion
that
is
comes in your mind that you think this is mythology from Quran, for example. Give me another example.
Yeah, if you take the life of Noah, he lived for 950 years. So show me the
Good.
civilization in the entire history which lived for
Good.
so much period.
Well done. Well done. So now you have talking about how much the lifespan of human beings were, right?
Yeah.
So what's span now compared to what was there 500 years ago?
So
Is it the
because
same?
of the medical and healthcare, it has improved. We are surviving, like we are living longer because of these changes.
No, not really. We can't live more than 120
Yes.
something years now.
So if we talk about India, then average like life expectancy after like 100 and 200 means like 100 200 years started increasing. Okay, before that it was around 50 or
200
something
years?
like that.
Are you saying people live
Yes,
200
since
years
we
in
have
India?
like improved in the medical field,
Are you
healthcare and all
saying
systems.
people live for 200 years in India?
No. The
Okay,
max,
misunderstood.
like average, I'm saying like 70 to like 75 is the average life expectancy.
Yeah. What was the life expectancy 500 years ago?
It should be less than the today.
This is your assumption.
It's assumption based on the reasoning, because we have more.
So what
We are
evidence do
equipped
you
with
have?
the science.
What
Sorry?
evidence do you have to say that people in the past, thousands of years ago, they lived shorter lifespan compared to today?
What evidence? I don't have right now. I don't have evidence in front of me.
But you think the evidence exists?
But I don't. Yeah, but in my reading, I never came to like someone lived for 200 years or 300 years. in entire history.
Yeah, we are talking about pre-Diluvian individual before the flood, right? Have we discovered, who the people were before the flood and how much they lived? Do we have the scientific data to even make a comparison?
So why to believe in that story?
You are considering this a story, so you need to come up with some data to back up your theory that, okay, human beings
See, I'm not believing
consistently,
because we don't have evidence, right? So why you are believing?
we
That's a different
believe
question.
that is the law that God created human beings in this earth, and gradually our lifespan is decreasing. Part of his natural law, part of his law that he's created within this world. What's so unreasonable about this? That's what I don't understand.
I don't know, like what evidence you have, like our life expectancy is gradually decreasing.
So confused guy. Let me. So we believe this is true because we believe the Quran is the word of God, right? So we believe everything God tells us is true. So now you have to ask the question: why do you believe the Quran is from God?
Yeah, see, brother, Sri, what's your name? So yeah, Muhammad, brother, I also used to believe that Islam is true. Okay, and then I used to accept everything. Okay, whatever it is written in Quran, it is true. But I
But
think
why?
like
Why?
logic would.
No. Let me ask you a question. When you believed the Quran was true, why did you believe the Quran was true? Because you were born into it? Because you were
No.
indoctrinated?
I,
Why?
no. I heard and I read the
Right.
sugar-coated
Okay,
version.
so what
That's why.
research did you do to establish the validity, the veracity, the truthfulness of the Quran? Did you do any research?
Yeah, I read it on myself. Like I read it myself. Then I read
What,
the
in Arabic? Did you
commentaries.
read it in Arabic?
No, I don't
Did
read
you did
Arabic.
you did you study it with scholars?
Not with scholars, but I ask questions to them. Like whenever I find out, I
Okay,
used to
so
ask. Not like
let me explain one thing. So let me give you the position here. The position here is that a shepherd in the 7th century, in the middle of sand dunes, according to, this is the secular understanding, wrote a book which 1400 years later has 1.8 billion followers, has never had an untruth ever validated within it, and nobody has been able to produce anything like it in over 1440 years. So you tell me which is more believable, that a shepherd in the desert who is illiterate can produce a book that creates 1.8 billion followers, or it's from God.
See, out of these 1.8 billion followers, how many are atheists? We don't have data, and how many are like fearful to expose it, like
This is a
their
question of
belief.
belief and faith, which is an issue of the heart. What I'm telling
Yeah,
you is the evidence is the Quran itself. So you have to tell me why you disbelieved in the Quran now, because you laid a positive claim. You said, I used to believe in it and now I don't. So you have to tell me, why did you not believe in the Quran? And why did you believe with it to start with? What is your evidence for disbelieving?
yeah, because I don't find it fascinating. If I read the history of the revelation, then till 13 years, less than 100 followers of Prophet, and after
Okay.
he shifted to Medina, when he got sword in his hand, then they like somehow managed to capture all
Okay,
the
good.
things.
Good. Okay,
So
we'll get to that
13
in a
years,
second.
no
But you know what? You know
miracles,
what?
no miracle
Okay,
worked.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I find Harry Potter fascinating. In fact, I find it to
Okay,
be
great.
an astonishing story. I really do. You know, Harry Potter is
Yes.
amazing. You know, it's like 6, 7 volumes of amazing stories that I find fascinating. I don't believe it's from God. In fact, I don't believe half of what's written in there. Why?
So it's your personal belief. You better
Yes,
know the answer.
exactly. It's my personal
Yeah.
belief. It's a subjective belief. I'm asking for objective truth of why the Quran is true. What is your objective reason for ignoring the Quran? Give me your objective reason, not your personal belief, how you felt,
Mm.
or your emotion.
See, I see a lot of stories. I already told you, like this doesn't make sense to me or anyone
Yes,
else.
that's
If you,
still your personal belief. What is your objective reason?
yeah, that's the objective reason because I
No,
don't
that's
see
not
anyone.
that's not an objective reason. Because I
I
can find
don't see.
5 people who disagree with you.
Yeah, so there is nothing objective then in this world.
No, there
If
is.
you take by that,
Okay,
then many
okay,
people disagree
no,
with
there is.
Islam. Okay, it will
There is
not be.
objective. Look,
Yeah, show me objective.
okay, what is 1 plus 1?
It
What
depends.
is 1 plus 1? What do you mean it
11.
depends? Well, what is the answer to what? No, 1 plus 1. What is the answer to 1 plus 1? Unity 1 plus unity 1 equals what?
It may be 2
Did you
or
go to
11.
school? Did you go to school?
I
Yes.
told you, na, like it depends. Like we have
Did you?
here
Okay,
one song
okay.
also.
Now okay. Now I'm not taking you seriously anymore. Did you go to school and our children taught what is 1 plus 1? What? Even a baby can tell me what is 1
You
plus
don't
1.
need to go to school for that.
Exactly. What is 1 plus 1?
Yeah, 2.
Good.
It's 2.
So good. So no, you asked me. So is 1 plus 1 equals 2 true whether you exist or I exist or the universe exists or doesn't exist? Is this always true?
But how will you objectively prove that Quran is the word of God? That's the question.
No.
You
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 asked me a
can prove
question. No,
the
no, no. Look, you're
mathematics.
changing. Look, confused guy. Look, you have to stay with the conversation, please.
Yeah, yeah,
You
sure, sure.
said, show me something objective. I'm giving you evidence of something objective. 1 plus 1 is an objective truth that is true whether you exist or don't exist, I exist or don't exist. Do you
Okay.
agree? Yes?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
That is one example. So to your statement earlier, this is one example of an objective truth. This is how I want you to justify why objectively the Quran is wrong because you left it.
So I will now listen to my whole argument. Okay, don't interrupt me in between. So I will take the example of Miraj. Okay, earlier you people said consciousness. Okay, so it is universally accepted. Everyone believes in consciousness. Okay, but if you take the example of Miraj journey, no human in the history, like history, I will say present. Okay, in the present day, I can't see any human being doing this. Like he's traveling faster than the speed of light or going to seven heaven. When we don't have like first heaven, how can one travel to seven heaven? I don't know. So how will you objectively prove this journey, Mera journey? So it is objectively wrong for me, and for anyone, any logical person, it is objectively wrong.
No,
Okay.
you've made category problems on 3 situations there. You made 3 category problems. One,
Okay.
you are appealing to something that is immaterial and you are appealing to material tools to explain it. This doesn't work. If we believe the journey to be a miraculous event, then it isn't, and it was on something that was immaterial, then you need to understand that immateriality exists. So you can't say science explains it. The second thing, you made an epistemological problem. You said, I don't know. So you're making a knowledge claim that you should know everything. This is a mistake. This is a knowledge claim that is unsubstantiated. And the third thing you said is, I'm not aware of anybody doing anything like this. So you would presume that this should be a repeat. So repeatability is only possible if we know how it was done in the first place. Would you like me to dissect more of your miscellaneous argument that you're making here?
But I don't understand. Like it is not appealing for me. Like whatever you are saying.
Okay, look, I don't look at the end of the day. It's okay. So let me explain why objectively the Quran is true. Objectively, the Quran itself gives its own evidence. It says, produce something like this if you believe it's not from God. This is the challenge the Quran makes. And the challenge is really simple. The Quran is written in Arabic, and it expects you to produce something like it, which means there's of his eloquence, of the language that it's used, of the style that it's used, the rhetoric that it's using, etc., etc. There's lots of facets to this. So this is the simple claim the Quran makes. There are many Arabic linguists out there, Arabic professors, Christian professors, atheist professors of Arabic. There are computer systems now with artificial intelligence that can read Arabic and produce Arabic. Despite all of this, nobody has yet been able to reproduce anything like the Quran. Have they tried? Every decade somebody has tried, pretty much. Every decade. There are failed examples all over the history of since Islam.
Okay, brother,
So
one question on this. Yeah, sorry to interrupt here. So one question on this, like this challenge. So Quran, does it give like something like what is the challenge? It just told like produce a surah like this, okay?
yes.
And what is the criteria? In Quran, I want. What is the criteria according to Quran? Not Hadith or anything else. According to Quran, what Allah said. What is the criteria?
Exactly. The criteria is quite simple. To make it simple for everyone, including you, the confused guy, whether you're confused or not, the Quran says bring something like it. That's the criteria. Now, how you bring something like it is for you to know what the Quran is like in the first place. So when you look at the Quran and you look at the structure, the stylistics, you know that it has its own stylistics. It has its own genre compared to, say, the Arabic poetry, the Arabic prose, compared to the statements of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, compared to the statements of the pre-Islamic poets and so on, in terms of their literature. So you can make a comparison, and you can see the Quranic particular diction or Quranic, say, the style of the way it is written, that's the stylistics, and you can from it see what is the structure. So, in the way we're speaking, for example, I would say, I don't say I are going, say I am going. So you can make a structure in the English language for grammar. This is what it means, the verb plus ing and so on. This is what it is. For every single statement of the Quran, you can also make also the stylistics that the Quran is using. So what the Quran is simply saying, bring something like that. That's all. And it has been demonstrated objectively by breaking it down for people who are, not confused, of course, people who want to understand, and made comparisons like this, objectively done by academics in academic pieces of work. So it is there, out there, and yet people are not able to, somehow, what's this called? Engage with it. Why is this?
So,
I have personally asked a lot of ex-Muslim atheists to engage on this issue. Go on, this is the criteria as the Quran lays down, and this is the examples that the Quran can actually derive from the stylistics of a particular surah. Go and match it. I'm still waiting. Years is going by. I'm still waiting. So every time, these atheists don't come to my feeds anymore, not in my Twitter, not in my YouTube channel anymore, because it shut them up totally. I'm wondering, why is this so?
So brother Mansur, the challenge, if you go by the verse of the Quran, is very subjective, because I can understand the challenge in a different way. Okay, everyone can understand it different way. So there is one surah.
Differently?
No.
See,
so
like
confused.
produce a surah like
let me give you an analogy. If I came to you,
first take my one point, then give your.
No. Let me, for the audience, let me explain it. So if I gave you, say, a copy of Shakespeare. Let me give it Shakespeare in English, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now Shakespeare, and I told you to replicate or produce something like Shakespeare. Now you speak English. You speak quite fluent English. Do you think you could produce something like Shakespeare? You individually, you with the level of English that you have right now, and that you would pass the test? That you would pass the test of the English literature experts, the ones at Cambridge, Oxford, Yale, Harvard. Do you think they would believe that it was written by Shakespeare if you attempted to write it? Tell me.
No.
Why?
They will identify, na, like in the period where the language was used must be different than what I'm using currently.
Perfect. So, for the same reason, the Arabic language of the Quran has been studied to that level of intricacy and detail, which means whatever you produce, we have professors and experts of Arabic that will be able to establish whether you've met the requirements or not. It is not my personal whim or desire. So, like Shakespeare, I can't just write some random words on a piece of paper and say they don't work, because Shakespeare has a particular pattern, right? It has a particular modality of the English that is spoken. He has a particular way that he writes the verses, and he writes the lines. And there's a particular mechanism where the moment you read it, you know it's Shakespeare. The Quran has similar, but at an even more in-depth stylistic mechanisms. So it is not subjective, it is objectively provable that these requirements are objectively assigned.
Just to
Exactly.
add a point there.
Snake juice, thank you. It's the iambic pentameter, which is actually the Shakespeare. In fact, the English language, fluent English speakers follow the iambic pentameter model, right?
Yeah.
By definition.
Just to add a
So
point
that
there,
way you
confused guy.
can't produce a book
Before you
like
respond,
Shakespeare as
confused
well,
guy,
right?
just want to add a point. The Quran is not talking about subjective eloquence. That's what some people try to force the challenge to be. It is not about eloquence. The Quran is eloquent, no doubt, but it is not eloquent what the challenge is. Challenge is to bring something like it. And the like it means the structure, the way it is composed. Go ahead.
And more.
So if we put a challenge, okay, if we take an example of Shakespeare, so you told me like if I write a book, okay, so people will identify like this is not from Shakespeare. So for Shakespeare also this challenge is fulfilled. You can't fulfill.
No, it's
like,
not.
the way
It's not.
Allah.
I'll tell you why. Because
Yeah.
there's historical evidence now that people have actually, what's the word? I don't want to say anything bad, but they pretended. Let me call it. They've pretended to be Shakespeare, and in fact, some of Shakespeare's work is now seen as potentially fraudulent. So actually, Shakespeare, being a human being, failed. So Shakespeare is not the word of God.
People have imitated Shakespeare, and you
they've
can
imitated exactly. Yes.
Okay, but I saw some like some chapters. I don't know, like Surah Corona or something like that. People produce, but you people will refute, na, because the challenge is very
not
subjective.
you people. No,
you
not
cannot
you
say
people.
like it is not like that.
No, it's not you people. It is objectively anybody that understands the Arabic language, whether they are Muslim or non-Muslim, they will say this is not from the Quran. If they are genuine, if they are honest. So the test is open to anybody.
Just to come to this point, Surah Corona or any other so-called surahs, you see none of those attempts that you find in the internet, and that's why people get confused, and no wonder people get confused. Which surah were they imitating? What were the Quranic stylistics they were imitating? No by anyone. It's just like a kid attempting and writing it, and even if you take that on itself, you can see where it fails. That's how basic these literary criticisms can be applied on these ones. So no scholar of Arabic language takes this imitation seriously. Otherwise, you'd have found these published in peer-reviewed works, like scholarly academic works from Oxford, Cambridge, and so on and so forth. You don't see this. In fact, the attempts that were made historically, they themselves, scholars will say, look how, like Musaylama or others, they didn't even meet this challenge because this is where it fails, because it's a laughable stock and so on and so forth. So if you really want to understand this, you need to go and level up a bit and say, look, let me think with an academic hat. Now, how do the academic scholarship treat these kind of things? Things about the miracles that we talked about. Is it something unreasonable? In the past, we couldn't travel fast. Now we travel can we travel faster than sound now? We can.
Yes.
So we can with the Concorde. Yeah, we can. But we are saying, to our current state of knowledge, we say you cannot travel faster than light. But what the Islamic tradition says about Mi'raj is there was a vehicle, there was a transportation medium that God provided, which bypassed all of this, limitation that we have now today. This is a piece of technology, if you want to use this word, which we don't have, privy to this particular technological advancement. But now we appreciate more and more as we develop in our science and technology. We produce faster cars, faster planes, faster rockets, and so on and so forth. So the whole idea of space traveling, at a high is no longer science fiction. So you should not be somehow, confused and say, oh, this is a mythology. This is something that's reasonable, but we don't have to do so because of our limitation of scientific advancements and technology. That's all there is.
Okay. So for now, I will leave because some people are waiting. I guess I took a lot of
confused guy. Just
Thanks for
to
coming.
summarize, the key question is if the Quran proves to be what it is, then you have to believe in the prophethood of the prophet, and you have to believe that he came with the message from Allah, and you have to submit to his law. This is what it entails. If you don't, then you will be destined for the hellfire. This is the bottom line, because having been a Muslim, you know how important that requirement is. So you now have a requirement to invalidate the claim that the Quran is not from God. And if you don't do that, you have a problem.
Anyway, it's a pleasure speaking to you.
Pleasure speaking to you anyway.
Come back again. And let's continue
Alhamdulillah.
on another stream.
Well,
okay. Take care.
Thanks very much. Thanks. Bye.